Just saying, episode 15, final podcast of the year, a little bit of a retrospective, and joined by the Bromeo and Falcon. And gentlemen, we were supposed to have a guest panelist. Happy Meal was supposed to join us, but he had catastrophic internet failure and couldn't make it. So it is just going to be, I'm hoping the sterling opinions of the two of you.
I'm always happy to give my opinions. I'm sad that Happy Meal isn't here because he often gives some zingers despite his outwardly sunny disposition. So sad that he couldn't be here, but instead we have to settle for Sean, and I suppose that's cool too.
I'm particularly sad is not here because there are rumors and information swirling around about the future of Happy Meal and what his future in the scene is going to look like. And announcements are supposed to be made coming this week or maybe next week, but it's Cosmico, so who knows? And I was hoping to make him squirm a little bit, Sean, and get him squirming in his seat there about force him to maybe leak some information.
Like how we bullied the other person into trying to release some information, I suppose. I mean, it's a friendly cyberbullying to find out more information. But I'm also pretty upset that Happy Meal's not here. I mean, I really enjoyed when you had Skill Steal on, so it's cool to pick their brains.
No, we got some bangers. Now I have to divert to chat for a second because I see Party Time Dan is in chat, and we are going to be talking about Birmingham Open #1, the signups for SSA, what the outlook looks like there. Now Party Time Dan is out of the UK, and pretty much from what I can tell in his content is he drinks beer and plays Rocket League is pretty much what goes on there. But I see he has signed up with a team of what I'm assuming is our fellow Brits. So he's part of the EU contingent. I'm hoping he doesn't go too far, but I thought it was kind of odd to see him signing up for SSA RLCS.
Well, man's here now and he's here to party. And his name is Dan. So SSA, Dan, SSA, welcome. The beer is better here. I can tell you that much.
He will contest that, having not drunk any beer out of England, I'm sure. But we'll Party Time Dan, welcome. Good to see you in the chat. So are we going to do a bit of a retrospective, gentlemen? Because we've got a couple of serious things to talk about. But Sean, I thought let's start with you and go. What were there highlights for you this year? I know you grumbled your way through RSC season 4, but what were there? Oh God! Okay, it felt like we're on 4 already. What were the highlights for you this past year?
I suppose just all the good news coming and the different changes that we have or have planned or might get to do in the future and stuff like that. Just the new ideas that have been coming in have been cool. But also being a 2-time champion in Elite in RSC has also got a good It has its spot on my shelf, you know what I mean? But honestly, as much as I grumbled, as you say, through RSC season 3, I really did enjoy it with all the new things that we had included, especially with Genesis. What's not Genesis? Sorry, our production team. I never really remember their company name. I just know them as Daniel.
Genesis Extreme.
Genesis Extreme. I just fell into your trap. Okay, yes.
No, I just know it as Daniel and Christian. That's it.
Yes,
I don't remember their name. But having them on board, it just made everything much more exciting and all that kind of stuff. So, I think honestly, season 3 RSC was very fun and the highlight for me this year.
Banger, Bromeo.
I've got a couple of things. First of all, I got married this year, so I've got to put that at the front. It's a big one. And second of all, there's so much has happened this year. You forget that the year's not even done yet, but we saw RLCS this season. We saw I think possibly one of the greatest seasons of RLCS for SSA that we have seen, from behind the scenes, watching the player growth, watching the skill ceiling raise. I know that a lot of people are going to grumble about it and talk about VK Salin and all of that stuff, but while everybody was doing that, I was looking at the players, looking at the stats, and truthfully, players got cracked this season. So that gives me so much to look forward to 2025, because I know that now that the bar has been raised and expectations on players have been raised, we're going to be looking forward to so much more. And obviously, third and not last, a nod to RSC, because, we're all part of it for sure. And it would be remiss of me to say that it wasn't a highlight, because it truly was. And I've spoken about it at length, but the final series for every single one of those tiers was some of the best Rocket League that I have watched. It was hugely competitive. It was hugely entertaining. And I'll remember it for a long time. And hopefully some of the guys in chat will as well. But in chat, if you've got anything fun that happened this year with regards to the rap, put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. We want to know, because we're going to talk about boring things. And if you guys
Speak
have
for yourself,
stuff,
Bromeo.
put it out there. Yes, I do think for myself occasionally, unless it's on Twitter.
All right, so there were a couple of highlights for me. I mean, it was incredibly emotional, the start of, because the region thing was kind of sprung on us. We didn't see it coming, and it was sort of really on top of us as the season was starting, and we were all devastated and freaked out. So a highlight, which was a low light, was definitely the day Young Money Clan got banned. It was a weird day, but I enjoyed that very much. And then a non-RLCS highlight for me was being at VS Gaming, the Comic-Con LAN finals, and it's something I've mentioned priorly, but it was. You spoke about, Bromeo, what gave you hope, and what made me very excited was standing on the casting stage, and on the left was the Synthesis team, who were going up against Cosmico, Happy Meal's team. And I looked over, and on my right, on Cosmico, were Happy Meal and Cam. I mean, two legends of local Rocket League. And I was like, wow, this is so cool to see them here. And I looked over on the left, and there was Ravi and Devour, two 13-year-olds at their first LAN, kind of trying to make out their break. And I was like, this is the legends of the game, the future of the game, right there. Was such for me, an incredibly poignant moment. So I enjoyed that very much. And then the next really enjoyable moment came, well, I guess it was a culmination of seeing Jeff in particular, Jeff, Bigfoot, and Stratic taking on Darku's team in the 3v3 off-season. And there was an unbelievable play from Jeff as he resetted and did all his stuff and scored an incredible goal, and they went on to beat that team. They didn't do so well the next day, but in terms of, again, future names, I'm hoping Jeff is going to have a banger of a year in RLCS, but also some of the other names like Tweaks, Ravi and Devour, who's I've already mentioned, and a few others who are kind of bubbling and threatening to break through this coming season. So that was great to see, and made me hopeful for 2025. And I don't know if I don't think anybody's noticed, but you'll see I've changed the posters on the wall behind me. I had movie posters up there, but I'm now going to be highlighting some of our local heroes. So you see Jeff behind me there, and next to Werty, and over on the other side we got Declan and Nitro. Nitro's another one I'm hoping we see great things from in the coming year. So that was some of the highlights for me. And 2025 promises to have a hell of a lot more. So let's, I think, move on with our schedule for the night and talk about the 3v3 off-season, which wrapped up. So we didn't have a podcast last week because it was right before Christmas. And the 3v3 off-season was happening on Monday night, so we didn't want to have the podcast then. And then Tuesday night was Christmas Eve, and I think even for this dedicated Rocket League fan base, a Christmas Eve podcast might have been a bit of a tough ask. So we skipped the podcast last week, so we didn't get to talk about the 3v3, but we can chat a little bit about it now. And I don't know, Bromeo, I know you were working consecutive 16-hour shifts. I don't know how much attention you paid, and Sean, I don't know how much of it you followed.
Do you know, it makes me grateful because I saw that clip you were talking about because you posted it out there. You are the greatest resource for local information out there. And I think it's fantastic because I watched that goal and I watched you lose your shit having seen it. And that made it even better for me. Like, look, it was an incredible goal, but the vibes around it, fantastic. It just makes me look forward to, even more Rocket League and it being casted. And that's the biggest shame, is that it wasn't. And I would have loved to see that, but no, I didn't get to see many of the games, sadly, because yes, I was working like a boring person. But some of the results definitely were surprising.
Well, let's have a look. I'm just going to take us through the final day's bracket. I won't put us through the entire. Whoops, not that. I need that. There we go. Oh, good. And of course, that's a tiny AF. So let's make that a little bit bigger. So these were all best of sevens. Oh my word, it's still so tiny. Hey! As we pause for a moment to say thank you to Rumble Truck for the sub. So there we go. So I think that's as probably as good as we can get it, unless I make it full screen. There we go. So this was the final day. This was the 12 teams that made it through to the final day. And it was kind of rough because from an SSA point of view, we had oh no, this is not the right thing at all.
Isn't it down?
It is down. So lower. Where is the final bracket?
Is it this one?
Upper bracket final. That's the one here. There. Yes, this is it. This is it here. Gee whiz. Okay, we finally get there in the end. So coming through in the upper bracket, we had Precious, which was limitless, and then Ginger Guy, the two SSA teams. Ginger Guy was Jeff, Stradic, and Bigfoot. And so they were coming into the day there. And then in the lower bracket for SSA was just BTF Esports. And then if we want to stretch things a little bit, we can count the elites who are from North Africa. Celestial Vanguard, I think, is either mixed or North African as well. So maybe we count them. But out of the top 12, effectively 3 SSA teams, 5 EU, and then 2 MENA stroke African stroke SSA teams. But a tough showing there. And basically, wow, party time, Dan! All right, party time, Dan, rocking on with the party. Thank you for the sub. Thank you very, very much. And so Ginger Guy was swept out by Hey with Riz, which is a Spanish team. Shocking. And then Precious beat Astronic Skill Quest, but were then swept by Hey with Riz, this Spanish team. So they found themselves in the lower bracket. And to cut a long story short, it all kind of ended with Precious making their way back into the grand final and then winning the bracket reset. They got the bracket reset, going to game 5, 3-2, but then getting swept in that reset series. So it was Hey with Riz that won the 3v3 off-season. And Hey have signed up. They have signed up for SSA Birmingham Open number 1. So I don't know. Thoughts, Sean?
Who's in the team? Is it names we know or recognize from Hey with Riz? Or is it,
no, it's Kaka or Karcha. I don't know the Spanish pronunciation of that. Ivan and Revezi.
Oh, okay. I think.
And I don't know if it's.
Revezi rings a bell.
Hold on, I need to check if I might be wrong about them being all Spanish. I need to do a double verification on that. So, hey.
With
Spain. Revezi's English and Ivan is Spanish. Okay, so Ivan is Spanish. Revezi, though, is English. So it's 2 Spaniards and an Englishman.
Okay. Interesting. That's very interesting. And did they play from their own country?
Yes, no. They played with the Hyping, and
Okay.
top 16 RLCS players. So Ivan is the Ivan that I know. Ivan, I've cast him in EU, and he's been in RLCS, so he's a proper serious player.
Quite hectic that they came down and just did a 3v3 open. But do we know if Limitless was even like trying to do well in this off-season thing? I don't know.
Who knows?
Always try to do well.
Yeah, look,
I don't know. Sometimes they like to mess around in these off-season type things at the end of the
Fair
day.
enough.
And then take RLCS a little bit more seriously when that comes round. But just knowing that now there's another Spanish team that's hybrid Spanish team that's now a new threat, and they're not even in the continent.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Well, we're going to talk about that in a moment. But there we go. So that was a 3v3 off-season. The pluses to take from this is that there were 3 off-season events. That was a huge move from Sonics.
If y'all don't follow Graybeard, you need to get in there.
Thank you very much for the follow. Welcome aboard. So we're gonna, it was huge from Epic to have those off-season events. I think it's just a shame that there isn't more effort put into team streaming and making broadcasting in a bit of a thing, because it's a huge opportunity to promote the game in the competitive scene. And that grand final, there was no stream of it. I mean, it was literally watch Liquipedia or start.gg and hope for the best to kind of get. Oh, in fact, I was talking to Jakey's on Discord from Limitless, and but between start.gg and the Rocket League main menu, just watching Snowy in game and what the score. That's how we were keeping tabs on it. So other than that could be improved, but it's been a busy off season, and we can move forward into the future. So congrats to Hey Riz, and clearly we're going to have our work cut out for us.
In chat, Inspire says Ivan played with Raziers on Resolve, and Flosi says Parker previously had played at top 11 to 8 level in EU.
Okay, so are you saying they're good? Is that what we're trying to say here? That they're good Rocket League
I'm going to assume with chat that that's what they're saying, because I've never heard these names in my life. The only one I've seen is Revezi.
Revezi. Well, he's been lurking around the region for a while now. Yeah. All right, so now we can talk about the Birmingham Open #1 signups. And last season, the record, so the most number of teams signed up last season was in fact, it was the most number of teams that have signed up ever for a regional, was for the first Open of last season. And then it kind of got fewer and fewer throughout. I think by Open number 6, there were 79 teams as far as I recall, but it started with 102. So far, as we stand now, keeping in mind that there are approximately 166 hours left before registrations close next Monday at 5 p.m., we have 68 teams signed up. So with a week to go and that many signed up, I have a feeling we're gonna break the 102 record.
I have no doubt about that. Already 70% of the way there with a week left, and everybody knows Rocket League players like to sign up 2 hours before signups close. So I think that's a fair estimation. I wouldn't bet against that at all. I would say that there would be comfortably 110, 120 teams.
I know.
Now,
go ahead, Sean.
Sorry. Now is at that point where all the rest of the players that are like, maybe we should participate, start throwing together the random teams just to try and get a chance.
Well, there's still scrambles for. As of yesterday, Willant was not signed to a roster, which blows my mind. So there's still a few players like that are out there. There's going to be those last minute. And we haven't even had the very last minute roster chaos, which is an almost guarantee, where 3 guys are sorted and then one guy's going to get offered another slot and abandon his 2 teammates, or some third's going to get kicked on Sunday before signups close on Monday. So all of that is yet to come. And I see Rumble Truck in chat has said it's probably going to be dominated by EU teams. And you may be right about that, because of the 68 teams that have signed up, 20, less than a third, are SSA teams as it stands now. There are, however, 12 mixed teams, and I absolutely see that as a stat that's going to be growing. I think there were 5 in the off-season 3v3, 12 for this Open, and 30 EU teams are signed up. So it's already being dominated by EU. Party Time Dan, I don't know if he's still here. He's clearly part of the problem. And then there is, it didn't have... I didn't put there are 3 MENA teams. I didn't put that into the graphic. And no one from North America yet. Last season, in every Open, there was at least one North American team that signed up for our regional, which was hilarious.
Imagine playing on like 500 ping, just so... But no, I think that, you know, this is the new normal, and I don't think we can ever complain that we don't get enough international exposure anymore, because instead of us going international came to us. So I think there's a lot to look at here, and I'm excited for it, to be honest.
And then next Monday, we will do we'll go through all the notable rosters once everything's been confirmed and finalized, because of those 68, there's a bunch of them that are yet to be confirmed as complete, where they've only put one or two people in the roster. They're not quite wrapped up there yet. And then Virtuoso in chat has asked what counts as SSA, and a full SSA team, all 3 players, SSA is what we count as SSA. If there's 1 or 2 SSA players, we count it as a mixed roster. So that's kind of how we're keeping track of our stats in general.
But if you're asking for the geography definition, SSA is anything that's south of the Sahara.
Yes, okay. And there are 35 countries in SSA. So any one of those.
Bromia's face.
What?
No, Bromia's face just after saying that shit.
Moving along. So there was I'm trying to think when I saw it. You know, obviously the import rosters are the big issue, the ongoing talking point. And there was a tweet thread, and I don't know if it was on one of my tweets or a tweet, but there was a long thread about imports and the usual drama that goes with that. And in and amongst all of that was a tweet from Sweaty's mother. And she said something along the lines of...
Sick.
Sick.
Huh? What?
Leave my boy alone.
Yeah. She said something about SSA, the morale of SSA players dying or being dead or going to die before too long or whatever. And I was a little opposed to that, because I thought, you know, I think Sweaty's mom has access to a sample size of 3, and their morale might well be poor because of what's going on. But the question then arose, what is the morale of the SSA scene, specifically of the pro players? And
don't ask us, because we're fine. We're doing great.
Yeah, no. The morale. Listen, my morale is far better than it was at around February last year.
Truth be told, it was dire.
No. It was probably the closest I've been in 5 years of being involved in the community, of going, why am I even here? Why bother? Let me pack my tent and get out of here, because I'm hating this. And that would have been rough. But what is the state of the morale right now? So I did a little Google form, sent it out to our pro players. I got 51 responses, which I think is a fairly decent sample size, and just asked some basic questions around how people are feeling about the scene. And these are the questions I asked. First up, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you to compete in SSA? And I mean, you can see it's kind of all over the place there, but I take it, if you look at the positive side, from 6 to 10, there were, 9, 13, 18, 28, so more than 56% or more than 50%, close to 60% are more positive than not about being excited to compete. And a sizable chunk who are not as excited. But that I thought it would be higher, but I was pleased to see it was at least positive.
I mean, this is, just not to, point at stats and go, these are the people we're asking. But if you've ever asked a Gen Xer what, their current perspective on the world is, it's not too much rosier. So I think that this is a pretty fair representation, and it's nice to see that the biggest population demographic of this graph is at the very end. They are the most excited to be here. But
Well,
I'm busy thinking of all the names who could possibly be in that number one spot, down on the other end of the things, because I'm pretty sure if I thought long and hard enough, I could probably put them by name.
well, to be fair, 23.6% of them are sitting in the middle.
Yes.
If you take 4 and 5 together.
Yeah.
So it's like very
But the big
maybe
thing
we could say that's where the majority is if you really think about it. Like they're not too sure, they are kind of excited still, but they're still gonna take it like every one step at a time, maybe.
Sean, I think right there you have highlighted the difference between you and I. You're probably more sober and realistic. I look at the fact that fully 20% of the respondents said they are super excited to compete. They were at 10, and that was the majority by some distance. And I'm going, yeah, that's where the outlook actually is.
Flocy posted a zinger in the chat. He said 3 of the 4 ones have to be limitless. That's probably not too far off the mark. They are very not happy about not claiming that one spot again. But who knows? This is what RLCS is for. But what I like is that it's a graph that's trending upwards. And more people sit on the right side than the left. And
yes.
Remember, Greybeard, this is basically a performance review for you as the vibe director. Because at the end of the day, these are Greybeard KPIs. And so far, you're doing a good job in creating the vibe.
Well, it does. And I'm going to talk about that when we get to the end of this, because this has been incredibly instructive for me. So let's move on to the next question, which was, how would you rate your personal motivation to improve and compete in Rocket League? And you'll see at 17%, that's supposed to be green, but I've got a chroma key filter, so it's
to say, somebody took a piece of the pie. They were hungry.
Someone took it and ran. So again, very encouraging. 45% very motivated, and 15% saying, yeah, I'm keen, yeah. So taking those two together, 60% are between very motivated and quite keen to be playing. So overall positive. I'm very curious about the 9.8% who responded with, I honestly don't know why I bother.
Those are going to be so boring this New Year's. I'm telling you now.
I can see the tweets now. I can see them. But yeah, no, I think this is again representative of what we just saw in the previous graph. A lot of people are excited. This is a new year. This is a different way of doing things. Same rules, sure. But now we've had a year to prepare for it.
Yeah.
And now we know what to expect. So I think that the dynamic is changing, but the most important thing is you're highlighting right now is what does the average player think? And to hear that half of them, if not more, are happy to be here, happy to play, get involved, that makes me happy, because at the end of the day, that's all it's about, really.
So Lagmaster says that he's among the 9. Did he say the 15% or the 9%? Oh, I think 15. He said 15. But then Flocy, I voted purple. But so you have me at the upper end, Mr. Optimistic. You got Sean in the middle, who's trying to be a realist and sober and whatever, and then you have Flocy, who will absolutely find a thunderstorm on a sunny day. So, but that's that end of the spectrum. So good to know, Flocy. Next question was, do import players help our scene? 49%. Effectively, half the player base says yes. 19% say no, and 31% are like, not sure. Maybe yes, maybe no. That was surprising to me and incredibly illuminating and instructive.
I think this is also one of those stats where red and orange is wrong and blue is right. It's you made it something subjective when it's pretty clear.
Mm-hmm.
No. Look. I know it's a very divisive topic, and I know that there's still a whole bunch of people who have yet to make up their mind on this, which for the 31.4% of the people sitting in orange, that's completely okay, because there is no right and wrong here, because you see import players as a tool. You can either use this tool or don't, and that'll just depend on which side of this graph that you sit. Because
Yeah.
if you actively use them as a resource to get better, then yes, you
Yeah.
will get better. But if you don't,
You'll
then you
always,
won't, and then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So
yeah.
you can choose which side you are on this graph, I think.
To be fair, there will always be people that will have a broken hammer and be like, I can't do anything with this. And then there'll be people that will make a plan.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about it a bit more, but this season, far more than last, is the globalization of Rocket League, because it's not just SSA. APAC have got their own problems with who they're getting, but then we're also seeing we're seeing Yukio and Sam. We're seeing Darku teamed up with a couple of people to play in APAC. And when I spoke to him, he's like, we all thought he was going to come to SSA. He's like, no, I'm sticking with EU. Then I saw a tweet. He's like, I just want to be a sub so I can focus on my content. Now he's heading off to APAC. So we are, and I think we have to kind of roll with it, as you say, see the positives in it and take it forward. But that's the view of 51 at least players in the scene. 49% say it does help the scene. Lankai in chat saying it's one of the best things for the scene ever, and I agree. I think if we sat and objectively, unemotionally went through all of the benefits, not just to the play, but to the eyes on the region, the support for the region, this has been huge. I mean, there are people in chat right now, Virtuoso, who we're going to talk more about in a moment, and Rumble Truck. There are people outside of this region who have become incredibly passionate supporters of the region, and that would never have happened without all of this and the controversy and us being featured on all sorts of podcasts and things. So but there again, I am dangerously optimistic at times, and
Okay, bro, Graveyard, I'm here. Don't worry.
he had to temper expectations. Are you optimistic about the future of SSA Rocket League? This was the most concerning for me. 31% said yes, 27% said no, and 50-50 was 41%. So this, as a single snapshot metric, I was like, whoa, that is, because I've never been more optimistic about the future of Rocket League in SSA, but that's not a feeling being shared by the majority of our players at the moment.
And Graveyard, just to point out is that you are possibly one of the most clued up people in our scene. You know what's coming. You're like the Nostradamus of Rocket League because you've been shown the way. And I think that's vital in, developing an opinion here, because for the average person who's just sitting playing Rocket League, you're getting this news of all of these import players coming in and playing our Rocket League and stealing our women and our money. It's concerning. And there's a lot of things that are not going well in the community side. That's why Six Mans is being revamped and things like that. So I get it. Rocket League is what you experience on a day-to-day. So I am also very much with the blue side of things. I'm with your side of things. Rocket League has a very bright future, especially this year. But I think, again, that's on us. That's our job. But also, I just wanted to point out that this is almost a perfect bell curve. So you had just as many people as as negative people saying, giving their opinion, and straight down the middle. So
Yes.
I don't think this is conclusive at all.
Yes.
It's just a very good snapshot of sentiment, and I would expect this graph to look very similar all the time.
Well, Virtuoso in chat has made a good point. He says you could take out SSA and just have the question: are you optimistic about the future of Rocket League?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
across all regions, you'd probably get a similar-ish spread.
I mean, I could agree with that, but Sean's been one of those people who's talking about trading and all of that fun stuff. So I'm pretty sure he's got more to say about it than I do.
What, the Rocket League, the game? Because the question is about SSA Rocket League, not
Yeah,
about
I
the
mean,
game.
there is. We start to get to the divide between the game and the esport, and yeah.
I don't think bringing trading back will, improve the optimisticness of this graph. To be fair.
Well,
I
there's a
don't
new-
know. Some people like miss trading. Some people have expensive inventories. Look at Daps. He
Well,
had a really
you've got an
expensive.
entire professional class who are now rocking worthless alpha boosts.
Or we all got black dices not long ago. Remember?
Yeah.
So it's like, that just dropped in value.
Yeah, exactly. The last question was, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the morale of SSA competitive players, with 1 being underwater and 10 being super high? This was the most negative of all the responses. You'll see in the positive side, from 6 to 10, out of 51 responses, only 13 were in the positive side, and in the lower half, everybody else.
I think this is possibly one of the best stats you pulled up because it's purely subjective.
Now, let me give you my take on this and what became very clear to me. When I'm asking, when the question is about you as an individual, how excited are you? How do you feel about it? Are you, it's mostly positive. I'm excited to play. I'm feeling good about it. Imports. But now you ask the question of how do other people feel about it? And it's majority negative. And to me, what that says is that the negative sentiment have the loudest voices in the community right now.
Yeah, I mean, you can see some of them in the chat right now.
Yeah, like
we
skill
know
seal.
you voted 1s and 2s. We see you in chat.
Like skill seal, man's very negative. Good
Yeah,
God.
he's so negative right now.
He's like, no ways. He's flabbergasted that 2 people voted 9 and 10.
But I also think, and without delving too deep in the intricacies of psychology, this is a really, really interesting stat because there's no ways that it'll be accurate. It's purely about current mood of how you think everybody else feels about the competitive scene right now. And you saw most of the people themselves feel positive towards it. But the way they see everybody else seeing it is as negative. So yeah, the most negative people out there are generally the loudest. And I think, this is leaning onto my New Year's resolutions is, more blocking out the bad and leaning into the good, because it's very easy to get carried away with somebody's negative opinion, purely because they're the ones who are most intent on being heard. So
but we always encourage it because as humans we love drama. We love to hear all this nonsense.
We do.
That's why we entertain all the negativity that keeps coming out, and then we also be like, maybe he's right. Maybe I'll be negative about the whole situation as well, and then nobody thinks about the good stuff, or even the possible good that could come out of it. Even if it's completely wrong and bad, it doesn't matter.
No, and you can see Spooks in chat saying, I'm still feeling good about SSA, but I do think this year will be the worst for the region. And yeah, I mean, I think of when I was learning how to ride a bike, the amount of times that I fell off. I hated that bicycle for the first couple of months. And I suspect that it'll be exactly the same until we can adapt, until we can raise our standards with and playing up against these players. I think it will be pretty shitty. And, there's no getting around that.
I beg to differ, and let me tell you why I differ.
Ooh.
If you are looking at SS, will you say it's going to be the worst time for this region? That is true if you're looking only at RLCS. And the fact is that RLCS right now dominates everything, as it should. on one hand, because it is the pinnacle. If you're going to compete in the esport, that's where you want to be. But Rocket League is so all or nothing in this region. You know, you're either getting paid nothing or you're getting paid thousands of dollars. There's no intermediate. You're either the top 4 and getting somewhere, or you're nowhere, because it is only RLCS. And because there's I mean, there's no bubble scene to speak of in terms of competitive for the bubble scene. And below that, absolutely nothing. So where I think we are going to do better this year is building that entire missing middle, or no, the entire missing everything under RLCS. We've seen over the last few years, high school Rocket League is on the up and up. I think we're going to have a better year than we've ever had in high school Rocket League. We're going to have a better VS competition than we've ever had, and then we need to be building more. And we're going to be talking in a moment now about improvement for the whole region, and that's where we're going to start to succeed. We've got Lagmeister in chat. Now, I know Lagmeister, we hang out in similar lobbies. He's around me. He's going to get better than me in very shortly. I'll never see him again, but for now he's hanging out. We play from time to time. He's in chat. But what has he got to compete in? There's RLCS, where he's going to go 2 for nothing in double elimination, and that's the end of his road for every, and that sucks. Where else is there? Where are the paid weekly events? Where are the other competitions that there's got to be lots of stuff that the top 8, top 12 don't want to get involved in, but the up and comers, the champ 1 to C3 GC1 level have got somewhere to go and compete. Those are the holes we're going to start to fill in. So from an RLCS perspective, absolutely, we can all go cry into our teacups about how cuck it is. But in terms of the interest in the region, the interest from orgs, and now there are third-party events. Sonics have opened that up a bit. We can do more with third-party events in terms of promotion, in terms of sponsorship, so we can go out and actively seek that sort of thing. And if we can build the underbelly of Rocket League, then it will be probably our best season ever. When it comes to RLCS, we are probably not going to see SSA players at a LAN, at a major, or Worlds for 3 seasons. And that is cuck. But other than that, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, I think that's a very valuable point. It's like, it all depends on what you're looking at. If you're looking at Limitless winning it all, you're going to be disappointed this season, in all likelihood. Look, I'm hoping for the best. I'm going to root for those boys, and seeing some of these rosters being announced, I'm going to be rooting for them too, because there's some very strong teams. And that for me is the most exciting thing, is now I get to see those teams and how they fare up against the European counterparts. And 2 years ago, we didn't get that. We didn't get that at all. We got to see who was going to maybe get beaten by Limitless in a final. And that for me is the biggest difference. So yes, I agree with you, but it entirely depends on what you're looking at. If you're looking at all the Rocket League that you're going to get to be able to play next year, you're in luck. It's going to be fantastic. There is so much coming your way. And, just as somebody who happily sits behind the scenes as Greybeard and Sean does all the work, I can vouch for this. But again, you cannot just look at RLCS results to, determine the state of health of our region, because we have not ever in the history of Rocket League been doing more.
And outside of RLCS, next year we've got the Esports World Cup. There will be 2 SSA teams going there, and as I understand it, of course subject to change, is they do lean toward having actual SSA teams go rather than the best import. And then the FIFA World Cup, that will happen again. That will be a South African team, and hopefully they'll open it up to more countries. But so there are things going on, but strap in. It is going to be tough for our local teams. It's going to be tough for Limitless. It's going to be tough for the top 4, top 6 SSA teams. But you know what? Of the top 6, the top 5 have got to figure out how to beat Limitless before we cry about not being able to beat EU teams. So, you know what I mean? We've got a lot of our own improvement to be going through. Talking about regional improvement. So the thing that's obsessing my mental time of late is, what are the factors that go into improving an entire region? When we're talking about imports, the conversation tends to be very binary about imports will make us better. Imports will make us worse. Imports are good for the scene. Imports are bad for the scene. Imports are only one tiny piece of the entire puzzle of improving a region. So yes, that's one factor. But what the thing I was just talking about, that underbelly, everything below RLCS, what are the points there that improve? So I've put together a rough list out of my own head, but I would like this to be an ongoing database, a crowdsourced database of the sort of projects and things we can do to help the scene improve. And first up are sponsored and community events. And I'm making an announcement shortly about one of those that's happening. But something like what Bahi did, Bahi getting involved, doing that 1v1 tournament, and then sponsoring the Mythic After Party tournament. If we can get more of that going, and not necessarily, we've got to move away from being kind individuals or passionate individuals throwing their personal money in. We've got to start going after the people who have actual money, the corporates. But given the changes in third-party events, I think there is potential and possibility there. And then things like RSC, guys. I mean, that's where the two of you are. And we're going to be thinking about RSC Season 4 and how we make that the best ever. So that's the first on my list.
What do you mean, man? I love getting paid, and good job, Falcon. And
paid in high fives.
If you, Edmund,
you weren't even paid in good jobs.
Yikes.
Sad.
No, but I agree. That's to say, RSC is not going anywhere with or without, the corporates. We will persevere because it's such an important cog for our scene. It is the pathway. It is the way up. And it gives everybody who is not in a top 4 team something to do for, 3 or 4 months of the year. So I think, very positively over RSC. But there's always so much room for more. And, that's why I'm always so supportive over, all of these people coming in with these great ideas to do things. I saw somebody in chat saying that they hosted one just the other day. That's what we need. And I miss the medal state events. I hope they do come back. Because when I first started out, that was literally the only thing that you could do other than VS to, play some competitive Rocket League that wasn't 6-mans. So if you think back just a couple of years, how much stuff has changed and how much we've managed to throw into a single year of Rocket League, we've come such a long way. So yes, sponsored and community events are vital to make us better. And I think it is making us better.
Next up is 6-mans. 6-mans is important. And I know Yoshi and the team of admins there are working hard to make that a thing and being inclusive, getting the EU players in there. And I haven't had an update recently on how that's going. He is in chat, so he can, I'm sure Flosi will throw some positive vibes of the way of 6-mans. But 6-mans is a vital part of the puzzle, but only a piece of the big puzzle. And if that can become a huge solid thing, that would be amazing. I have been having conversations with the official 6-mans people, and there have been positive murmurings about having a fully officially supported 6-man server in SSA, which will go a long way to helping things, although Yoshi didn't seem overly excited when I mentioned it to him, but maybe that's something in the future. But 6-man's a vital part of the puzzle. My silence was to open the floor there, but okay, that's all we're saying on 6-mans.
Sure, like, you know what? I don't feel like talking about 6-mans this evening. And look, I think the work that Yoshi's doing in improving 6-mans is exactly what's needed. It's been stagnant for years. It's the whole reason why there were a whole bunch of split-off communities started, namely Bro and things like that, because we didn't like 6-mans. And so, for 6-mans not working out, it did spur the growth of some other things, which, is cool. But a healthy 6-mans is a healthy competitive community. And I'm very grateful for Yoshi putting up his hand and doing the job that not many people want to do, to be honest, because it is a thankless job.
Oh, it's very
Yeah.
similar to being the head admin or the main front facing admin of RSC. You work a lot and the high fives are few and far between.
I mean,
Yeah.
to be fair, he didn't have an easy job. Six mans is a hard nut to flip, I would say.
Yeah.
Because I'm not someone that would be hugely successful in climbing the ranks in six mans at all, and I know this, but I wouldn't even take part in it purely just because of all the people that are on there, and they have this whole space where they can just complain and whine and be toxic for no apparent reason. Which kind of just pushes a lot of people away from it, apart from the people that use it as a free platform to go bring out their alter egos, should we say.
And to be fair, to my knowledge, there isn't a six-man server in the world that isn't toxic and full of shit. I think that's
Sure.
it's part of the six-man's DNA. It kind of it's part of the territory. Whether it's right, wrong, nice, not, I don't know. I'm not a competitive player. I'm never going to be in RLCS. Maybe that's where they find the ego they need to get out there and do the thing. I don't know, but it is part of the deal. But my goodness, it can go about it better.
It gets a little out of hand sometimes, I would say. But
No, you're not wrong.
no, for sure, like we do need those kind of people. It kind of gets the competitiveness going. You know what I mean? We need those people that got these massive heads on top of their shoulders, and they're not actually that fantastic to warrant those massive heads. But we love those people because they create drama, and we love drama, like I said earlier.
Import
But it'll be
scrims.
interesting to
Now we touched a little bit on this last week, and I know it's and I got a message early this morning about yet another server that's been set up where people can go and search for scrims, and I'm like, cool, but somehow this problem has to be solved. It's a piece in the puzzle, and here's my thought, and I know I spoke about someone taking on the job and trying to network this thing, and maybe that works, maybe it doesn't. However, I would love to go and find out where EU players, not necessarily, definitely not the RLCS level players, maybe sort of the lower end of the bubble, because as much as there are, shall we say, difficult EU players, there are some amazing EU players. I see Omonic is in chat, and I'm pretty 50-50 on Omonic right now because he's for reasons, but he has at least made efforts to be supportive and encouraging and do things and get involved. And there are others who have done a great job. Rubik's has been great, and there are others that I'm going to forget to mention. But if we can find more and more of those and say, hey, come and play in our six-mans, come and do scrims with our teams, come and make friends in SSA. And at the age of sort of 13, 14, up to 20, the friendships you make in these servers and online and in games like this will be friendships you will have for the rest of your life. It's not just about now and this game. So how do we make it interesting for just come and play here? You're not going to spend most of your time here, but come and make friends with SSA players and just play here so we have a bigger place to play with and against.
I mean, that's a tricky question to answer because kids love to hate each other for, even the smallest reasons. I mean, if SSA kids can't get along, what makes us think that we would get along with people who don't speak in the same accent? So I think it's going to be very difficult to achieve. I think that is a very optimistic, outlook, trying to get, more internationals into our six-mans. It is possible. But I think that the only way to do that is to get more international spokespeople for SSA six-man. So you need somebody who's involved in scenes that are not our own to, spread the gospel and bring them in because, we can send some nice DMs, but honestly, we needed a mover and shaker from across the oceans to, start spreading the word that side. Because,
Time
yes.
to move, Greybeard.
Say what?
It's time to move, Greybeard.
Oh, God.
Because that would make a big difference. Having foreign players playing in six-mans is just the kind of stuff that we need to improve as a region. But it's very difficult to achieve. So just like what Yoshi's doing with the greatest six-mans, it's a job that nobody wants, and it's a job that everybody says that they could do better if they were doing it themselves. So if you're out there and that person is you, our DMs are open. Please, because we would love you to do a better job than us.
We need emissaries. We need people who are keen to forge relationships and do things, and just need a little bit of help and guidance. Let's go. This is a community effort. We need an army of people out there filling in their little piece of the puzzle. So if we're all gathered around the table, this 10,000 piece puzzle is there. Everybody grabs a section and, okay, I'll do the sky, which is thankless because that's a shitty job, and you got to put all the blue pieces together, and nobody's very excited when you got it done. So we do. And Lagmeister's being very chatty, talking about things he wants to do. He and I definitely need to have a conversation, Lagmeister. I'm liking the things that you're saying. Next up, and my thought, is great local tournaments. So there has to be things outside of RLCS. VS is an obvious one. ACGL, as far as I'm aware, are planning another LAN in and around July. So that sort of tournament, VS tournaments and others. And we've spoken quite a bit about that. And then High School Rocket League. And we're waiting approval from the high ups at Telkom who sponsor VS Gaming. But there's some fantastic plans with high school. I don't know if it's going to be approved. If it's not, it'll be similar to how it was run this year. But we need more schools signing up. And the youngsters who are at school, promote it at your school. If you want someone to go and talk to your what do you call the people who run things at schools? The faculty. The
faculty of Rocket League.
Yeah, I'm happy to go and talk to them and to spread the gospel of esport and Rocket League and how awesome it'll be. But I think the school signing up for Rocket League this year was around 130-ish, maybe 140. We've got to get that number up to 500, up to 1,000.
Yeah.
So High School Rocket League, this is definitely one of the pieces of the puzzle, but also a pillar. If you're getting 500 schools playing competitive Rocket League, that's a lot of promotion for the sport.
Do you know what? And this is actually something I wish I brought up when we were talking about all of the things, our highlights, a SSA 2024 in retrospect, is that one of my favorite moments was getting paid to cast an under 13 final of a Kuro LAN. And how cool was that? Because, these lighties are busy, I think they're all around champ level or lower, but...
they're very funny to watch.
Honestly, it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And it was one of my best casts ever because I've never even seen, high school esports being played like that before. And that's a huge takeaway for me because... in the year of our Lord 2024, we saw high school esports more prominent than it was in the year before. And that for me is real, tangible growth that Rocket League is getting bigger. It was there, it was in front of me.
And if
the primary school students, they're also very entertaining to watch. It's fantastic.
From a casting perspective, I got to tell you, going back to RSC, the casting I enjoyed the most was the Prospect tier. Yeah, the Masters, you see some fancy shit. You see some amazingly skilled Rocket League. But at Prospect, you're seeing the passion. And at primary school, and those champ ones in high school, they're all about just completely uneducated energy and enthusiasm. And it is fantastic. I find that quite invigorating to watch, if I'm honest. And I had a point, and I've completely derailed myself. High School Rocket League.
High School Esports.
High School Esports. It was. If the point comes back to me, I shall go back to it. Next up are communities, and you spoke about Bro coming out of Six Mans and the desire to have a community where guys could go and just hang. And I love the idea of Bro. I think Bro was incredibly successful. We need that for youngsters because Bro, its positioning, its drive, I liked that it filled a gap for sort of older gamers who weren't necessarily going to be RLCS. I know over time, younger and younger people got in there, but that wasn't its drive, and I think it filled a very important space. But we need communities like that for others. I've started playing ones again, and I've gotten into conversation, and I'm very low ranked, so I'm generally encountering lower ranked players and getting into conversations and then saying, are you part of any local communities? And they're like, oh, they didn't even know it existed. So I send them off to either my Discord or not Six Man's, not yet, but RSC or Bro, or there needs to be places that they can go where they can find out about the weekly tournaments that we're hopefully going to put together and have going as a regular affair. But we are desperately short of communities and people being involved in building specific communities. And I've just thought of my point, because we're going to come back to this, but with high school, anybody out there who wants to do content for Rocket League but doesn't know what to do, high schools, I am telling you now, there are opportunities for content creators to get in on the high school Rocket League hype. Make content around high school teams, high school players. There is a world of potential there, because it is a growing market. When people find out about Rocket League, you build an audience through schools. So any prospective content creators, think about this. Coming back to communities, we need more communities.
Isn't Sparky's also got their little community going as well? Xenon, I think it's called.
But what do they do there? What does that community exist for? I mean, I know about it, but who is it for? Who's the demographic?
Do you know? To be fair, I'm not exactly sure what the demographic is. I just know that it's a community that jumped up that wasn't Bro, and I love seeing it. And
yes.
I think it's just more of a counterculture or just an alternative. I couldn't put my finger on it because I'm obviously not the demographic.
Yes.
But I love to see that sort of stuff happening, and I'll be a Xenon supporter for as long as they're around, because we need more communities, because that's how orgs are birthed. Because it's very easy to start a Discord server and say that you are best in the world esports. And, now you're an official org. No, you are not an official org until you have somebody that cares whether you win or lose. And that, for me, is one of the biggest takeaways of communities, is that communities are built around common causes. For Bro, it was playing Rocket League in a non-toxic environment, and that just happened to shape how we grew. But for orgs to succeed, you need people to give a shit whether you lose or not. So they'd watch you, they'd buy your merch, they'd pay attention to you, they'd give praise to your players. And I feel like the only way to build a successful, esports org without a lot of money, because some people just start chucking in money coming in from America and paying salary, sure. But if they dropped out, nobody would follow them from this side of the world, because it's not partisanal support. Nobody is invested.
Yes.
And the great thing about RSC is that you started to see, those rivalries pop up where you supported one team because they're your team. And that's why I will always support a Xenon, because they are growing the community from the ground upwards, not from the top downwards.
And we need more of them who cater for specific things. I mean, one of the big embarrassments from my perspective for the region is there's no space for women, for female Rocket League players. I'm sure, I have no doubt they are out there, and they're probably all playing with guys' names and not getting involved in anything. So that should be a thing that we build. That's kind of part of what we should be building. And then next up on the list is coaching. And I see Jaguar just made a comment in chat. He's got an idea for coaching. Might drop you a DM, Greybeard. I am waiting for that DM as we speak, Jaguar. Now, coaching is broad, because it cannot just be, this is how you do a flip, reset, and rotate. Player coaching, very important, without question. But if we're looking at the professional leagues, So we need more casual coaching, like high school coaches, but so sort of general coaching for your, your golds and plats who are flipping and flopping and just need some solid basics. And that could be part of one of these communities we're talking about. Then there's top of the pile professional coaching. This is coaching a team, coaching individuals, but also outside of the game. Coaching how to be a professional in the esports scene, how to manage your social media, how to stream, or the holistic approach to coaching a player who wants to be a professional.
I can definitely get behind that. And, also just to mention, Bro does coaching at a, say, diamond to high champ, low GC level. So if you're looking to get better, I know in the new year we're going to kickstart our coaching program, whether it's, Zar, who's one of the community figureheads, teaching, basic rotations and things like that, or one-on-one coaching from some of the more established people. There's many people willing to give their time to help you get better purely from the love of it. And surprisingly, so far, lots of people talk a big game, but not many people have actively approached and said, hey, I would like coaching. So coaching is one of those things that people like to think they want to have. But when it comes down to actually getting coaching, there isn't, that need that, the greatest professional players have to get better. So I would love to see in the new year more people joining in, signing up for these coaching programs, one-on-one coaching, because it's there, it's a resource, it's to be used. We've set it up, we've done the work, we've made the relationships. All you need to do is show up and say, I want to get better.
I've beaten the drum for a long time, as you know, for content. Now, Bromeo, that sort of coaching thing, you've mentioned it to me before, but I have forgotten it. Sure. Now you've mentioned it again. I've now remembered it. That's the sort of thing that we should be bringing to the podcast and to other content. We've got to know about shit. It doesn't matter if there are great things being done that nobody gets to hear about it. We spread the virus by promoting the virus. So I would love that sort of news to come, even if it's just a tiny segment, even if it's just hey, remember, Zar's open for coaching. If you want, this is how to do it. Here's a link. Go and do it. And others who want to do that. That's the sort of thing we should be promoting on the podcast and others, because that's incredible. And I do get the one-on-one. I've always thought I wanted to be coached, and I've had a number of and I'm terrible to coach because for reasons. But if there were sort of more one-on-one coaching is a thing, team coaching is a thing, but then there are just open seminars. Yeah. Zar's doing a seminar on wave dashes, and you know what? It sounds corny, and every
really
huh?
Did.
And we should, but we should know that shit, because as much as we can talk about, being good at Rocket League is far more than mechanics. The honest truth is, a guy who's plat or diamond, all he wants to do is a fucking flip reset and a wave dash. And so fine, get him excited. Teach him the wave dash until he's good at it. And then one day he's going to go, you know what, I can wave dash and flip reset, but I can't win a game of Rocket League. I need better coaching. He will graduate up to that. So all of that sort of thing. So, see, now I'm sort of rambling on again. But yes, that sort of thing and exponentially more and more of it would be brilliant. All right, that's coaching. And then the last two items are orgs. We do need local orgs and local orgs, but also I love what Cosmico is doing. They of Cosmico and Genesix have been probably the most involved non-South African orgs in the scene in terms of their ongoing efforts to help the scene and to do things within the scene. And I don't want that to go unnoticed. Limitless, it's been great to have them, but beyond, they did put $500 into a 1v1 tournament in 2023. Which was highly appreciated, but they don't do a lot in our community. So more involvement, and we're going to talk about Omnius Gaming in a moment. We want more local orgs involved, but they've got to be part of improving, not just here's our roster, here's our pre-game and post-game tweets.
No, I agree about that completely, and it goes back to my previous point. I would probably buy a Cosmico jersey before I'd buy a Limitless one. Purely for what they have done, because they make me care about the results that they get, because it's SSA focused. And, that's not bashing Limitless by any means. And it's just, I'd like to put up a standard on how orgs should be in this country, because every single org, if you look at the signups for RLCS, there's different orgs every season. All of them are mostly fly by night. We hear horror stories every season about, at least one team not getting paid after their mom said no. And I think, it's vital for orgs to be able to stick around to establish something like a legacy, a lasting presence. They need to do more in the community. They need to do what Xenon is doing. They need to do what Bro is doing. And I'm not even including myself in that because, I've been too busy RSCing, but luckily the community that is currently there is continuing to do the great things. So if you want to create an org that people give a shit about, you need to stick around and you need to involve yourself. And if you're just going to be an international org coming in and creating a logo and sponsoring a team, that's not going to get you much mileage. So I agree, Greybeard. Orgs need to do more, and we need to celebrate the orgs that are doing these things more. And I know that I think it was Syntex saying that they did something and it wasn't very well attended. We will broadcast your tournament. We will find ways to promote what you are doing, because you are doing this for us as much as you are doing it for yourself, and that is appreciated and it should be celebrated. So if, just as a rule of thumb, if you're doing something in the region, let one of us know so that we can figure out the best way to help you make it succeed, because we don't want you just doing it once. We would like to see you do it every couple of months, every year. We want to see you stay and grow with us. And I think that's, that's pretty much all I had to say on that.
He mentioned that they did a $150 prize pool tournament or something, and it wasn't there weren't a lot of signups, so there were some dropouts from it. But from trial and error at Bro, we've kind of learned what the SSA players want to take part in and what they don't really want to take part in. And like it's that same thing with ACGL running their weekly 3v3 tournaments all the time. I mean, they do it every week. We're always getting pinged in their Discord for it, but nobody wants to take part in it because it's either a complete waste of time, or let's say the younger players or the lower ranked players don't want to take part in it because they know if they do, there's going to be another team that's going to come in and is going to win everything anyways.
There are two problems around that. Yep.
Sorry. But what we did kind of learn with Bro is when we do our little tournaments is that we don't kind of keep it the normal tournaments. We want to change it. We make it exciting. We make it something interesting for the player to want to take part in. And I don't know if that's maybe something that other orgs should maybe try when they do run their tournaments. Like, give it a wow factor, for instance. Make it interesting for people to want to come play in the tournament, even if it's your generic 3v3 tournament. And the pre-made teams can come take part in. But we need to change how we make it interesting for the player to come and join. Because we can't use the excuse that the players are lazy and don't want to take part in, because that's completely false, because there are competitions that are maybe a bit more interesting and a lot more players will take part in those.
So again, content is a factor, and under content is just generally people knowing about it. The sort of people that I think should be playing the ACGL weeklies, for example, are your sort of Plat 2 Champ 1 players who are just getting in and want to play, place to go and play. And there should be a prize pool that's not big enough that Limitless is going to go, oh yeah, we'll have that, thank you very much. But it gives a reason, and you're quite right. We can't blame players. The players need to know about it. That's the first problem. The second, you got to make it interesting to play. It is incredibly dull to just get pinged in a Discord, go to a website, sign up, and play in a private server, because you got to make it. again, content around it. There's got to be a little bit of hype. Someone streaming this stuff. I mean, back in 2020, in the height of lockdown, when all the online things were going, you mentioned Metal State, Bromeo. I used to stream all the Metal State games. I used to stream the ACGL games because it was. I mean, we had nothing going on. There was fuck all going on. So that for me was like, hey, hype! And there wasn't even RLCS back then. It was this tiny community. So we need more of that. So there are efforts, and we should support those efforts and make them better. I mean, to ACGL's credit, they've been running those weeklies, week in, week out for 5 years now. And I'm sure there's a substantial portion of the people listening to this that probably aren't even aware of that. Then going back to the orgs for a moment, and it's not a case of we want the orgs to do more. We've got to incentivize and make it interesting for the orgs. We have to build something as a community that they can plug into and be a part of. You know, as much as an org wants to do things, they don't want to have to build a whole scene by themselves. But if it's a going concern, they can just plug in their activities to it.
What's stopping us from, let's say, creating a board where every org or org representative would sit on, where we have open discussions on what they could do and how we could maybe have them included in the building of the SSA community?
Well, I wanted to start by getting org representatives onto the podcast, and we started off well. We got Omnius in here, and that was pretty cool. And then Punishers were supposed to come, and they then ghosted me, so I don't know where they are, or they, it might just be Christmas and New Year, who knows. I've tried Goliath, and I've had no response there. But start by getting them on here. I think there's honestly. So Omnius came on here, and they see that there's an active chat. There is a passionate community here, and I think that excitement makes them want to be involved. So absolutely, Sean, what you've just said, we can do stuff to go, hey, there is a scene worth supporting.
And I think, just going on to this last point that you have up on screen here, and that is reaching the player base. And we talk about orgs, having to advertise better and things like that. But I remember when I started Bro, one of my favorite things to do was join a casual game, a ranked game, and then just say, hey, I haven't seen you around in these circles. Do you know about Six Mans, or do you know about Bro? And getting them to sign up. I'd say the first 100 people that we got to join our server weren't part of any existing community, because we identified very early on that the scene is the scene. There are only so many people in this cute little bubble that we live in, and it's painfully small.
Yes,
there's maybe 400 or 500 kids in this circle of the Rocket League scene, because there is no advertisement by Psyonix to say this is how you get involved.
Yes,
and I think this is upon all of you, the viewer watching us right now, hanging out with us and listening to us debate on how to make our SSA better. If you're in a game and you've never seen a player's tag before, which is kind of rare, but it happens, ask them if they know about, say, Bro or Six Mans. And if they say no, send them a Discord invite so that you can yourself grow the scene, because worst comes to worst, there's an extra person who dumps on you in Six Mans, or best comes to best, you've got somebody who helps you fix your computer problems whenever you have them, because you become such good mates. And I can speak on both of those, and I think it's the easiest way to grow the scene, because we know that the players are out there. Every single person who who comes into Bro who's never been in the scene before, and we tell them about RLCS, and they're like, "What's that?"
Yeah,
And that's a player that could have been aspiring to be better, but they had nothing to play for. And
You
that's
know where
one
I
of the
find most of them?
easiest- Yeah, well, that's the easiest way.
Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook even, but that's where
They're
you
all
get.
over Facebook.
That's
All these
that's
people
how.
that have no idea about the scene are all on Facebook, and there are quite a few of them.
But that's if you want my granddad to play.
No,
No, these
no.
are these are like 15, 16-year-olds. I'm not gonna lie to you.
No, I think that's a valid point because I do nothing with that Facebook group, and I think there's 1,200 people who are on that Facebook group. So someone in chat, come and become the Facebook in charge and infiltrate the Facebook group and get them into the Discords.
And I see Sparky Cracked is now in chat, and for those who don't know, he is very much Xenon esports and the up and coming community. And my thing is that get your club tag in the game and get all of the people in your Discord to wear it when they play, so that if enough people see it, they will eventually ask, who is this? Because the amount of people that have told me once they've joined a server, I've seen this bro tag everywhere. It was on purpose. We wanted them to see it everywhere so that they would ask, who are these people?
Yes.
And that is how you reach out to people who have never heard of us, because every tweet that I put out, I know that only Yoshi and maybe Demonix and Flosi are going to read it. That's pretty much the extent of our influence. But
Yes.
every single person in this community knows somebody else who's picked up Rocket League at some point who doesn't know about the community that you're involved in.
And that's got to and we. This would be such an easy fix from Psyonix if you just put a menu there,
yeah,
it's terribly frustrating, and we can hope that they will solve it. But until they do, we need to come up with ideas. And what you've just said, the club tags, engaging people in game, and letting them know. And again, schools, because most of the youngsters who are out there playing are going to a school. If they start Rocket League, if they're connected to the school, that might lead them to Discords and the broader community. But overall, we've got to be reaching more of the base, because there are more people playing the game that aren't involved in what we're involved in than the people who are involved, if that makes sense.
I'd go so far as to say that if you are not telling somebody about the community that you're involved in, and you run up against them in ranked or something like that, you are not growing your region, because it is a free thing to do. It costs you nothing but 20 seconds of your time to tell them about it. And we talk about our scene being too small, but if you're busy complaining about that but have never sent out a message like that, shut up.
Going on the Sparky Crack being in the chat, Sparky, please DM me. I want to know more about Xenon Esports and what you're actually trying to do with that server and that community. What's the drive there? Maybe we get you onto the podcast to come and talk about it and what that community is all about. Because I know you're there, but I probably am not aware of everything you're doing, and I'd be keen to know about it. So, as I've said, these were just some ideas that I've thought about. This is a rolling thing. If there are I want to crowdsource this. If there are other things we can do, if there are subheadings to any of these main points, let's add it in there. Let's find. If we can get enough little things happening, the greater picture starts to come together. But to have global success, we can't be relying on 36 players at the top of the game. It's just completely unsustainable. All that's ever going to happen is maybe we get someone there and they go 0-9 on LAN. And you know what? There's only so much of that I can pay to fly over and watch happen. So let's do more with it. What else have we got? Okay, 1v1 show matches. So under the top heading of sponsored and community events, I am very pleased to announce, and I'm delighted that Virtuoso is in chat. While we're doing watch party for the 3v3 off-season event, Virtuoso made his way into chat, and someone during that stream said, "Hey, Greybeard, when are you going to do 1v1 show matches again?" And I said, when there is interest in doing it, because when I was doing the show matches, every Wednesday I was essentially going around Discord servers, cap in hand, begging people to come on for a show match. And I went, clearly it's not a thing of interest, so why am I stressing about it? So I stopped doing it. But there, A, is interest. And then B, I thought, hey, maybe we can, if I can get some sponsorship for a prize pool, maybe then. And then Virtuoso said, I would be keen to do that. So starting on the 8th of January, so that is in 9 days' time, Wednesday a week, weekly 1v1 show matches will make a return to my channel. And every week we'll see a 1,000 Rand prize pool for the show matches. And how it's going to work, you've got to be in my Discord and you've got to give yourself the 1v1 role so you receive the pings. And if everyone who says they're available for a given week, I will select 4 players. Those 4 players will be matched up. So effectively, we will have 2 semi-finals and a final. So 3 best of 5 1v1s. The winner will take home 750 Rand. The runner-up will take 250 Rand. And the 2 losers from the semi-finals will get big high fives. And that will happen every week starting on the 8th of January. I think there's 12 people so far who are in the server with the 1v1 role. So if you want to be part of that, exclamation Discord to get my Discord link. Go and join the Discord and get in there. This is, I am afraid to say, open to SSA players only. And so get in there, but and that will be streamed. I will stream those live, obviously, and to Virtuoso, who's in chat, and I have to make it clear it's not that Virtuoso. This is Virtuoso out of Austin, Texas. Thank you very much for being a part of our community. Welcome to it, and your contributions are massively appreciated. Thank you. So there we go. That is 1v1 show matches, which brings us to our final item on the agenda, which is birthdays. Notable birthdays over the last week. And for this, I'm utilizing Liquipedia. So your birthday only gets mentioned if you've done enough to have a Liquipedia page. And for that, I need to go over here. And first SSA birthday is... Sorry, I'm trying to line up everything I'm trying to do here. Okay, so going along here. CP Zebra, who on the 20th of December turned 34. So an elder statesman of the SSA scene, lives in the UK now. Happy 34th birthday to you! Next up is Rowan, who turned 20 on the 20th of December, sharing the day with CP Zebra. So Rowan, happy birthday to you. And then next up, Darth on the 27th. So when was that? Last Friday, turned 22 in his second year of university. Darth, happy birthday. And then finally, happening tomorrow on New Year's Eve, Dillawave, who gave his mother 20 years ago a terrible New Year's party. He will be 20 tomorrow. So Dillawave, happy birthday to you.
Oh man, this is going to become my favorite segment.
Okay. And I think, gentlemen, that about wraps it up for the night. I think we've spoken about everything we need to. Next, so this is where sign-ups close next Monday for the first regional. Birmingham Open number 1. 5 o'clock next Monday, sign-ups close. And then the qualifiers start. If there's enough teams, will be on Friday the 10th. That's unlikely. I think you need something like 256 teams to have a Friday. So in all likelihood, it'll be Saturday and Sunday. And then the main event is Friday. Well, we're not too sure what main event is anymore because the Friday night of RLCS is no longer broadcast. But so there's Friday night, and then Saturday, Sunday, the 17th and 18th of January is the broadcast, RLCS broadcast. The planning for that is already underway. And next Monday, I'm going to introduce 3 of the talent that will be joining us for RLCS 2025 broadcasts. And on the 13th, the Monday after that, the other the rest of the talent for the RLCS broadcast. So stay tuned for that. Gentlemen, in closing, starting with you, Bromes.
I mean, I don't have too much to say other than what I've already grandstanded this evening, but I'm excited for the talent reveal. I'm assuming that, you know, on the first week of the talent reveal, it'll be the truly talented ones, and, you know, the next
The
week it'll be
runner-ups.
who's left. But it just means that we're ending this year now. 2024 is done. And in 2 days' time, everybody's going to have to retype their messages every time they have to fill in a date for at least 2 or 3 weeks until they get it right. So from me, all I want to say is, boys, thank you for a great year. Chat, thank you for a bloody great year. This has been my best year of Rocket League involvement. Not so much my rank. You know, we don't want to talk about that. But it has been fantastic. It's been a privilege to be involved in this scene. And I want to wish everybody out there a fantastic new year, except for Greybeard, who left us with his very sexy looking chair, by the way. I want to know where he got that one from. But yeah, boys, it's been great. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. And Rocket League, great bloody year. And I hope you guys have a fantastic one.
This is Rocket League. Sean.
Yeah, same boat as Bromeo pretty much, and I don't really have much to say. I mean,
Okay.
most of my talking is when I'm the devil's advocate on a lot of things, as Bromeo would like to usually says about me. But this year, I think if I really think about it, I was a lot more involved, which doesn't always happen. Because I like to sit in the background and just make sure everything works fine. But forcing me to come, or not forcing me actually asking to come on these things was also
Encouraging you.
encouraging, you know, putting me out of my comfort zone a little bit. But it's been a hell of a lot of fun, is what I'm trying to say. I'm really glad I did get involved as much as I do. I'm really glad I am where I am in Rocket League, should we say, with what I do now, and I look forward to whatever else comes along the journey. I'm excited for the new year to come, and I'm really grateful for everyone that's been a part of this journey with me along this year and the years before that, and meeting all the people like I know, especially the people in chat that I've seen a couple of times. But other than that, just a happy new year to everybody, and good luck in RLCS 2025, and go smash it.
2025 is going to be a banger, and some of the things coming on the podcast is we are going to be having segments. And already confirmed for those segments is Yuckles, who I see is in chat. He's going to be taking the high school segment. So all the high school Rocket League news, he will be bringing that to us on a weekly basis. And then a segment I'm pretty stoked about is, and the name for it is courtesy of Bromeo. Skill Steel is going to have a regular segment on the podcast, which we are calling The Skill Issue. And, and so he'll be a regular for that. And then we're going to have Machtfish, who's going to do a segment we're provisionally calling Mental Mechanics. So he'll be doing a segment on the mentality of the game and how to approach it mentally. And he'll be bringing on guests and all that. So we want to have more segments that are informative and more helpful. So those are some of the things coming in 2025, along with all the amazing things that we've already spoken about, that you'll be hearing more of. But from me, Bromeo, and Falcon, peace!
Happy New Year.